So we have made a decision to shut down the greenhouse in the coming months, and we're starting to work on it right now. But even though the greenhouse is going to be shut down, and one of the reasons of shutting it down, because we don't want to overwork this soil here, overwork the beds where they get to a place that we have to put a lot in there and it not produce the quantity of and the quality of vegetables that we want here onto the homestead. So I have already started amending the beds. One of the things I use into my garden and into the raised beds is garden lime. Garden lime is purchased at Lowe's. So into this greenhouse we put in a little over a bag of garden lime. Now first of all, before I did that, I went around and watered all these plants because we're in the heat of summer and it's hot, it's humid here. The fans have to run. You're probably going to hear one because I'm trying to keep this humidity into this greenhouse, the airflow circulating so that I won't get mold or mildew and algae to grow, which is very common here on the southeast coast. So once I watered it, then I put down this garden lime. I sprinkled it all over the place really good. Now garden lime, if you don't water it in, or if it sits there and it gets some moisture to it, say the humidity gets to it, it has the tendency to start caking. It starts hardening up, and then when you do water, it doesn't want to wash into the soil. So once this garden lime was put down in the other fertilizers I'm going to show you, then I watered it. Make sure that all of it's watered into the soil that I could not really see, or I couldn't see the garden lime. I seen one place this morning that I forgot, and I'll show you that. The other fertilizer I used, and I used this in the garden, it worked really good. It's called Morganite. It's for gardeners by Earth Science. This is a slow release fertilizer, and it's 511. So I like it, the fact that it is a slow release fertilizer. And this bag right here is 6 pounds. So it covers 600 square feet. So 6 pounds, but I ended up putting 2 bags in here because most of these beds, or some of these beds, do not have any plants in them. And so the quantity doesn't matter, for the fact that eventually they won't be watered. I'm just getting all the nutrients I can. That's what I'm going to be doing for a while. Mostly into this greenhouse, we've been running off of rabbit manure. We did fertilize with garden lime, and I believe 888 or 10-10-10 or 13-13-13, and some of this Morganite. Morganite, the slow release fertilizer. Now rabbit manure is a slow release fertilizer, and so it works really good into this greenhouse. And that's what I like about the rabbit manure. It makes the plants do really good, look really healthy, and produce some good fruit. So we put down 2 bags of this Morganite, which is 6 pounds, will make it 12 pounds. The other fertilizer that I used, because all this I had here onto the homestead, I used all-purpose plant food. Experts Gardener. It's a 12-5-7. It's 12-5-7 NPK. So the NPK, you get the first number is your nitrogen, which is important into the growing. Now I know I did a pH test onto my garden, and even though it's growing super well, it's low into nitrogen. So we got to understand how important it is that we just don't think about the last 2 numbers of potassium and phosphorus. We don't just think about those 2 numbers, but sometimes we're lacking in nitrogen, which creates our plant to grow. Now these products, you don't want to throw you don't want to throw on top of your plants unless you're going to water really super well and keep it watered, but I wouldn't advise that. Sometimes I do because I've been doing this for a while, but I wouldn't tell anybody else to do it. I know that sounds contradictory, but you know, I'm kind of an experienced gardener here, so you just got to make sure you watch that soil and watch the plants, and it's best to sprinkle it around it and take that your water and water hose and get it to let it kind of melt and get to the plant, get down into the soil, and feed the plant. So this is for flowers and vegetables, shrubs and hedges, citrus trees, and shade trees. So the shade trees, I don't do shade trees, okay? I'm not even concerned about them. The only plants I'm concerned about is the greenhouse, the garden, and my fruit orchard. So into my orange tree and my lemon tree, I did add some of this, along with the morganite, the slow release fertilizer, which is 511. So I put 2 bags of this in there, and this is 16 pounds of fertilizer. The other thing I did before I even did all that, which I forgot about, when I was decided to water, because I have to water because it's hot and humid here and the soil dries out really quickly and it starts stressing the plants, I used this Dr. Earth's Golden Bloom. And the reason I picked this up out of my garden shed was the fact that I noticed my vegetables was, like, I got Fool's You jalapenos here, right over here. This is a Fool's You jalapeno, and down there is also the Fool's You jalapenos and a Jupiter pepper and California Wonder pepper. But I noticed they wasn't putting out the blooms. And so this soil has been worked here. It's gone through the early spring, it's gone through fall, it's gone through last summer, and surely it's starting to get depleted a little bit. Yes, it's growing excellent, it's doing great, but as an experienced gardener, I can say something is lacking in here. Now, I haven't done a pH test in here, which I need to do, but for now, my focus is get these plants fed. So, since I didn't notice that many blooms, I used Dr. Earth's Golden Bloom High Phosphorus Plant Food. This is good for the root system. It's good for the plant. Sometimes, especially in the summertime, your plants won't take up enough phosphorus. Now, you could spray this on as a foliage, or you could water at the base of the plant. It takes like 4 tablespoons per gallon of water. So I went around with the plants that's in here, not the marigolds, but I got one volunteer tomato popped up, my peppers, and my eggplants, and that's it. I do have one little plant, I'm not sure what it is. It kind of looks like maybe a winter squash that I think I found it in the garden. I just dug it up and brought it in here. So I watered that with this, and I also gave some to the fruit trees into the greenhouse, the lemon tree and the orange tree. So let's take a walk through the greenhouse. To fertilize a raised garden bed, you can incorporate a slow release fertilizer into the soil. You can do that before planting or use a liquid fertilizer during the growing season for all your growing needs. But use the granular fertilizer, and you spread them evenly over the soil surface, and then gently work them into the soil, into the top a few inches, or side dress along the rows, or you can liquid fertilize. See, you don't have any rows here, but you see how that's got a little heel right there. But you can side dress along the side of your plant, and liquid fertilizers are applied and by dissolving them into water, which is what I did with Dr. Earth. And then you are applying to the soil, and then you're gonna water. You apply it to the soil, and it's gonna feed the plant. But it's also, you can also take and spray it on the plant foliage, the plant leaves. I'll put it like that. I can't get the words out. So, choose the right fertilizer is very important. You see how these beds are empty here, but you can also see the fertilizer that's down there. I watered this after I put the garden lime and other fertilizers I showed you down really thick and heavy, and watered really good. So later on, these beds in these areas right here, it's not going to have to be watered. But what I'm going to do is take something other, my little rake, and incorporate the rest of this fertilizer. We also see the rabbit manure that's into this bed. So you decide between the granular fertilizer or the liquid fertilizer, and considering the factors like the type of plant and the desired nutrients that's released into the soil. Initially fertilize before planting. That's what I do. This is what you're seeing right now. Before any planting, this is being fertilized. It's being amended really good. So a granular, you're going to mix granular. You're going to mix into the soil. Slow release, you're just going to mix into the soil. The liquid, you're going to mix into the container and then fertilize into the top for about 6 to 8 inches of the soil when preparing your garden bed for planting. So we even fertilized the strawberry plant here. It was showing signs. Now you see right there, that's some of that garden lime slow release fertilizer on there. Liquid fertilizer, consider using a starter solution during the transplanting to give the young plants a boost. Ongoing fertilization, use a granular side dressing the plants during the growing season. And you're going to do that by applying a granular fertilizer near the base of the plant and avoiding direct contact with the stems or the leaves. And that's what I was doing down there. It's near it, but it's not. I didn't get it on the leaves, and this is a slow release fertilizer. And then further out is the 12 NPK, the one that's the 12 nitrogen, which is, it's got a different color, but you see it's further out. And then the slow release fertilizer is still out, but it's not against the stem. The liquid, you're going to use the fertilizer every 2 or 4 weeks, or as directed on the product, especially for heavy feeders like tomatoes and peppers. And that's why I went ahead and fertilize that, because I noticed there's not as many blooms on there that it should be, or usually is. Now the application method for granular fertilizer, you're going to distribute it evenly over the soil surface, and then you're going to lightly work it into the soil a few inches using a rake or a shovel or a trowel. And I've got my fertilizer down there. I haven't raked it up yet. I'm going to work it in, because one thing, you don't want your nitrogen to evaporate into the air, because the elements, the air, will pull that nitrogen out of the soil. So you want to work it in. And the liquid you're going to mix with water accordingly to the product. You know, according to what the instruction says on the back, and apply it to the soil of the foliage. And the timing of apply the fertilizer before a good rain. And I do that. Sometimes I'll go out there in the rain and fertilize when it starts to sprinkle, you know, and I know it's going to rain. Sometimes we can get fooled by that. You don't want to put fertilizer out there and then not have it be washed into the soil. And if you do that and it doesn't rain, then you've got to water. You make sure that you water it. You're going to go water it real good into the well, and you're going to put it there, and you're going to water it very well to help it reach the roots. And then the next thing we'll do is monitor the health of the plants. And that's what I was doing, monitoring the health of the plants. Regularly check for signs of nutrient deficiency, such as yellowing into the leaves, and adjust the amount of your fertilization schedule as needed. So this concludes this on fertilization into the greenhouse, the fruit trees, Oh, let me show you this. So I was watering late last night, and see, I had put it on here. Now this is garden lime. You want to make sure that it's just not sitting on your plants like that. I didn't see it until this morning, actually. And there's a little bit there. But I was watering, my focus was all this fertilizer down there. I thought I got that. You see, it's none over here. There's a little bit right there. But with all these plants right here, I had to, get it worked around into the soil and then sprinkle it. And then that's why I was taking that water hose and watering it very well to wash it down. Now, while I was watering it, it looked like all it was gone. And it could have been. It could have just, the water finally went down and settled. I haven't had any problems with garden lime. But this plant right here, I've already noticed a growth in it from just overnight. So you need to schedule a schedule if you can. Now, I don't really set schedules. I look at my plants. And looking at these plants, and I'm not sure what's causing this right here. It's like it's coming from the sun, because I've noticed it last year. The sun is putting out some kind of radiation or something, and it burned. Even though this got shade cloth on it, it's still burning these marigold leaves. I noticed it started last year, and that might be where these spots are coming from. So I look at my plants and see what they need. Like, I picked Full-Ju jalapeno pepper plants last night, and they're not hot, but they taste like jalapeno peppers, and so they're really good. This right here, I've got to brace up for the stem breaks. It's reaching almost up to the top of the greenhouse. Now this base is probably about 1.5 feet. No, it's about 1.5 feet, whatever that is. So 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 inches, right? This plant right here, I came in this morning, I noticed it's got some bites onto it. So you always got to take a really good notice of what's going on with your plants. Is the leaves yellow? Is there insects starting to bite on it? I look up under my leaves. I don't see anything. And usually sometimes with that could be slugs. Or it could be flea beetles, which I don't see at the moment. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. Give you a little information of what I do into the greenhouse. This is blueberry trees here. Because of our heat and humidity, I like to put mine into pots. And when I don't, I have a tendency to lose them. I like to put them in a pot so they can form a good root system. And as I was doing this, it's got a slow release fertilizer in here, so that as I'm watering, that fertilizer will continue to work in there so that it can develop a good root system. I also moved it into the middle of the greenhouse so it won't get too much sun, since we're into summer now, and dry out the roots to give it a good chance to grow. And I think I purchased this like $4. When you purchase that like at a big box store, most of the time they don't, and it was into a little plastic bag, most of the time they don't have hardly any root system, not enough. And then when you disturb those roots, it has a tendency to shock it, and then you either overwater it or you don't water enough. But the thing of it is, you got to get that root system to develop so it can survive outside these containers. Well, thank you very much, and I'll see you on to the next video.